Hey everybody, hope you're enjoying your day. So to start off, we're going to discuss social mobility and stratification in the article Social Mobility Among Second Generation Latinos, and also compare and contrast Karl Marx's ideas and Max Weber's ideas in the article Making Sports More Sporting. So to start with the latter, Karl Marx believes that there is the power class and a working class, and the power class exploits the working class for its own means to benefit from. So an example in this article would be the NCAA, this huge sports organization that makes an absurd amount of money off of its players but doesn't compensate them in return. So during March Madness, these players are generating $30,000 per minute per player, which is absolutely ridiculous, yet they're not compensated in return. So you can see the NCAA as this power and the athletes as the working class that are being exploited. Now, there are plenty of other factors that go into this, and it doesn't really do it justice to simplify it to this extent, but the thought is basically there. The concept is there. Also, Karl Marx believed that prolonged inequality will lead to revolt. So an example of that would be the City University of New York in 1969 staged protests and boycotts to lessen tuition and increase admission, add to a lot of diversity in the school, giving a lot more of an educational opportunity for the poorer students or the poorer community, which is fantastic. So now Karl Marx just believed it's basically a class struggle, whereas Max Weber believed that there are many other things incorporated, many other factors, such as power and prestige, in addition to property and wealth. So an example of that would be the LGBTQ community being integrated into sports more successfully in recent years. That's not necessarily a class struggle, but more so of status. So, the LGBTQ community, has not been accepted as they are now in previous years, just because the cultural norms have progressed and their status is basically, I guess you could say, improving in society. So again, it's not necessarily just a class struggle, but also status and again prestige as well as in there through Max Weber. So it's very interesting to talk about social mobility among second generation Latinos. In this article, as far as stratification is concerned, the Latinos are kind of lower in America as a minority group. Now, there are two ideologies basically associated with the future of Latinos in America. There's segmented assimilation, which is the idea that they're at risk for downward mobility economically because of their minority status, segregated schools, bad neighborhoods, all these other factors that will just potentially lead to them decreasing in economic status. But then there's also new assimilation, which is the thought that they will follow the footsteps of Europeans, in the sense that as the generations proceed, they will climb up the ladder. So that would be intergenerational stratification or mobility. Intergenerational mobility, because as the generations progress, they just keep on doing better and better for themselves, better than the last generation. And they're on track for that, according to this article. So based on entirely off of educational and occupational outcomes, 39% of Cubans have college degrees or more, just as native white Americans. Cubans, Colombians, Ecuadorians, Peruvians, Central South Americans are just as likely as whites to be in a professional job. So in comparison to their previous generation, they're doing better in comparison to, I guess, now the white community. They're basically doing very, very well for themselves. So there are charts in this article that talk about, or that show statistically, the socioeconomic attainment of education and occupation by immigrant generation. And the second generation was just well suited, just well above the previous generation. And to follow those patterns, I believe that just as the generations proceed, they'll just keep on bettering and keep on one-upping the previous generation. Again, so as stratification is concerned, the Latinos were kind of more toward the bottom. I mean, they were hit very hard by the recession, 36.3% increase in child poverty between 2007 and 2010. They lost 44% of their wealth compared to only 11% from whites. And that's just the Great Recession. So obviously, as far as stratification is concerned, they're more toward the bottom. But through these second generational Latinos and through now future generation Latinos, they'll continue to do better, which is fantastic. So again, intergenerational mobility. So thank you so much for watching. Enjoy the rest of your day.